Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to make some fun DIY projects using popsicle sticks. Before we get started, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and turn on the notifications. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. To make the first DIY project, I took this large popsicle sticks. I laid out one popsicle stick horizontally, then after making sure it was nice and straight, I taped it down to hold it in place. I arranged 3 more popsicle sticks to form a square, and after determining the position of the bottommost stick, I taped it down again. Next, I grabbed a smaller popsicle stick and glued it to the center of the large stick at the bottom. This small stick acted as a stopper to hold the picture in place. I applied a small amount of hot glue to the left ends of both the top and bottom popsicle sticks. Then I grabbed another stick and placed it vertically to connect the top and bottom sticks on the left side. I repeated the same steps to form the right side of the frame. Next, I added small amounts of hot glue to the bottom of the frame and attached another popsicle stick, ensuring it was aligned with the large popsicle stick underneath. The small stick, which was meant to act as a stopper, was sandwiched between the 2 large popsicle sticks which formed the bottom of the picture frame. Next, I applied small amounts of hot glue to both corners at the top and stuck another popsicle stick, making sure it was aligned with the stick underneath. Then I flipped it over and arranged 8 popsicle sticks to create a backing for the frame. I aligned the sticks with the frame to ensure none of the edges were sticking out. To make sure everything stayed in place, I secured them with 2 long pieces of tape. After that, I used hot glue to stick the backing onto the frame. Once the glue dried, I removed the tape pieces. I was going to add some more details to all the 4 corners of the frame. To do that, I grabbed a popsicle stick and placed it at a 45-degree angle on one of the corners of the photo frame. I stuck a piece of tape to hold it in place, then I turned over the frame and made markings with a pencil like so. I secured the popsicle stick on a cutting mat with some tape and cut along the pencil markings using a box cutter. I repeated the scoring technique to gradually deepen the groove. Then I bent the stick along the scored line until it snapped. We ended up with this trapezoid shape, which I used as a template to trace and cut out 3 more trapezoids. After all the 4 corners were cut, it was time to stain the frame. To achieve a stained effect on the wood, I took dark brown acrylic paint and added a lot of water to it in order to dilute the paint. Then I began staining the frame with the watered down paint. This is optional, but I also painted the interior part of the backing. Once I was done staining the frame, I moved on to painting the trapezoid shapes. To paint them, I used off-white acrylic paint. I was planning on applying at least 2 coats so that the paint looked opaque. Then I lightly sketched a terrazzo pattern on all the 4 pieces using a pencil. I began by painting some of the shapes with a mustard yellow acrylic paint with a small brush. I tried to mimic a terrazzo look by sketching various irregular shapes and sizes. Then I painted some more shapes with blush pink, some shapes with a brick red color, and lastly the rest of the shapes with a moss green acrylic paint. I placed the trapezoid shapes on all the 4 corners of the frame. Then I used hot glue to attach them to the photo frame. While gluing them down, I made sure the edges were aligned with the frame. I think the terrazzo pattern at the corners added a beautiful detail to the frame. To hang the photo frame, I cut a piece of macrame cord. I flipped the frame over and put a tiny dot of hot glue on the top corner of the backing. Then I attached one end of the macrame cord and added a bit more hot glue for extra reinforcement. I repeated the same thing on the other side as well. I cut a piece of watercolor paper to fit the photo frame, made a painting on it, and then slid it into place. This completed our DIY popsicle stick photo frame. To make a bookmark, I grabbed a large popsicle stick. Then I took another stick and drew a 45-degree angled line on the top to form a triangular shape. I carefully cut along the pencil line with a box cutter. I scored along the line multiple times to create a deep groove, then I snapped it for a clean cut. I grabbed the triangular piece and traced the same shape on the other end of the popsicle stick. Then using a box cutter, I cut the shape out. Joining the 2 pieces together created a heart shape. I took the main popsicle stick and drew a vertical line down the center of one end, dividing it in 2 equal halves. Then I applied wood glue and attached the 2 triangular pieces, forming a heart shape by aligning them with the vertical line as a guide. I held it in place to ensure it stuck firmly. In the same way, I made another bookmark. To paint the body of the first bookmark, I used a peach acrylic paint. Then I painted the body of the second bookmark with mint green paint. Make sure to paint the back and the edges as well. To paint the first heart, I mixed red and peach acrylic paint to get a coral shade. Then I painted the heart of the peach bookmark using this color. I think the coral shade really went well with the peach paint. Also, I carefully painted the back of the heart. And then using a light pink acrylic shade, I painted the other heart shape. Then I took some vanilla acrylic paint on a fine brush and painted tiny hearts on the peach bookmark. I tried to space them out evenly and also to keep the shapes as consistent as possible. On the second bookmark, I painted little daisies using a detailing brush. I used off-white acrylic color to paint them. Then with yellow paint, I added a tiny dot at the center of each flower. And there we have it, our DIY popsicle stick bookmarks. To make the coasters, I used these craft sticks. I also grabbed a black faux leather sheet. I took about 10 to 12 craft sticks and marked a length of 9.5 centimeters on each of them. Based on the measurements, I cut the sticks to a uniform length. Next, I measured the width of the stick, which was about 0.9 centimeter. I took the faux leather sheet and marked 0.9 centimeter wide strips on it with the help of a ruler. I figured I needed about 5 long strips for one coaster, so I did the measurements accordingly and cut them out. To make a backing for the coaster, I cut a square piece of felt fabric slightly larger than the length of the craft stick we cut. I applied a tiny dot of hot glue on one of the corners of the felt square and attached a strip to it. Then I pasted another strip right below it, and this way I attached the remaining strips. I cut the larger strips in half and hot glued them along the remaining length. Next, I started to weave the craft sticks through the leather strips. To make sure everything stayed in place, I adhered the strips to the craft sticks with tiny dots of hot glue. Then I turned it over and attached the stick to the felt backing. For the next craft stick, I switched up the weaving pattern. For example, with the first craft stick, I began weaving it under, over, and then under again with the leather strips in a consistent pattern. Then for the next row, I did the opposite. I placed another craft stick in between the two sticks to achieve a uniform spacing. I continued this process of weaving the sticks and attaching them to the felt fabric. I made sure to alternate the weaving pattern with each row, and then I hot glued the woven area onto the felt backing. After finishing the weaving, I trimmed off any excess material from the edges. I also cleaned up any excess hot glue strings for a tidier appearance. I made a set of 2 coasters, and this completed our DIY woven popsicle stick coasters. That's all for today. I really hope you liked these DIY projects. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and let me know which DIY was your favorite. You can also follow me on Instagram at DustyUse. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.